This is episode 45 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. It is the throes of the offseason, a time when Bengals fans and Browns fans alike have one thing in common: absolutely nothing. By which I mean there is absolutely nothing going on, and we kind of have to come up with stuff to talk about. We have to create things to talk about. It's that weird period after the draft and before the preseason starts, and it's really just all speculation. I think OTAs just started like today or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of which, we do have something to talk about the Browns in relation to OTAs, which we will bring up here in a second once this part's over. But we also have a couple other things to talk about. We're going to talk about breakout players on each team and another sports team that I'm a fan of that doesn't constantly disappoint me. So that's exciting. Which is new, by the way. That team used to constantly disappoint me.
Ooh. Okay, that sounds exciting. I think know what team you're talking about.
Wait, do you know what team I'm talking about?
I think I do.
Oh, interesting. You might have followed my Twitter earlier today.
No, I haven't, but I just got to guess. I think it's just because I know you well.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, finally, the Steelers need to go ahead and accept that. What, Thomas?
They got to accept that they suck.
They got to accept that they still suck.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Why don't you tell me what you're drinking today, Thomas?
Today, I'm drinking a long drink. That's right. Anytime you get a long drink, okay. So like like people, this is actually a light drink, just like the White Claws of the world, seltzers. But the long drink is better because it is gin, but it doesn't taste like gin. It tastes like just this sweet, light drink. It is so good. It is just such a good. Ooh, they got these in cranberry. Ooh boy, and it's so refreshing. Just pop it open. Take a little sip. Delicious.
I'm not usually much of a fruit and alcohol person, but cranberry sounds good.
It's not. Oh, this one's not cranberry. It's a regular one.
Oh, okay.
But you should try it though. Definitely try it. It's really good.
I've never seen them. I haven't seen them at Jungle Gyms, and if they don't have them at Jungle Gyms, I doubt they have them anywhere in the area.
Well, they probably do. They probably have. Long Drink is getting really popular. It's the most popular. It's the most popular unpopular drink, man. I'm telling you, just try it. Just try. I'm telling you.
If I can find it, I'll try it.
Join the long drink cult. Everybody who's watching this, try long drink.
So today I am not drinking a long drink. I'm drinking a Birra Moretti L'Authentica, I think. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that. It's an Italian lager, I think. Yeah, it's a lager and it's from Italy. So let's see what we got here. Italian passion for brewing. I know, but I know they like their alcohol in Italy. Ooh, that is good. Ooh, I like that. Italy, yes. Give me more beer, Italy. I usually associate Italy with wine, but that's delicious.
Oh yeah, Italy makes some really good beers.
Huh?
I think Italy makes some really good beers.
Apparently,
they probably make really good wine.
That is a top tier lager. I don't like wine. I don't like wine. It's just I think it's the tannins or whatever. It sits wrong with me.
I'm drinking a long drink while eating Skittles while doing a podcast. All good things.
Yes, those are all good things.
Life is good.
You know what are not good things? Browns fans and Bengals fans, by the way, who think that Jarvis Landry makes sense for their team. So I'm assuming you've been following this a little bit, Thomas, but the other day on Twitter, it was like trending across the country that Browns fans were arguing about who was better, Julio Jones or Jarvis Landry. And I'm sitting here thinking obviously Julio Jones is better, but that doesn't mean that you should bring him to your team.
Yeah. I think, first of all, Browns fans. I think Browns fans as a collective, and I am one of those people. I would do this too. Maybe we should all just take a day off Twitter. Just saying. like Browns fans on Twitter are just so much. Like Browns Twitter is just its own thing in itself. Like anytime there's any kind of voting for the Browns on Twitter, we always win. You know why? Because Browns fans find that. And every single one of them, don't got nothing else to do. They be to do anything in the world. But they'll drop everything to retweet that tweet and make sure that every single Browns fan in the world votes for whatever is on Twitter for whatever voting thing that's going on. Browns fans, we are insane on Twitter to the point where we all just got to take a second and find something else to do. Like, I know there's not a lot to do in Cleveland. But we got to start doing something else we just need to take one day off with Twitter. Like, just take a break. Like, we are too much right now. We are way too much on Twitter. People are literally getting famous off Twitter for being Browns fans. Literally, that's happening in real time right now. So
there are a lot of Bengals fans out there that have gotten famous through Twitter, and I've actually met a few of them. They're all good people. But on the Bengals side of things, as far as Julio Jones go, first of all, I want to ask you a question, Thomas. Do you think bringing Julio Jones into the Bengals locker room makes any sense? First of all, just like straight up without any context.
Oh, that would be cold though. I mean, I'm a salary cap. I mean, I don't know, man. You give Joe Burrow that many. If you give Joey Burrow, yeah, I mean.
But I mean, the problem is you got to contend
for y'all than it does for us.
Okay, but this it's not. The NFL isn't Madden. You can't just add talent and then suddenly everything works better. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, well, I think Joe Burrow can handle it.
So it's Browns fans on Twitter were really into the whole Julio thing, and Bengals fans. It's mainly the Bengals fans on Facebook who are bringing up this Julio thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been saying the Bengals should go trade for Julio Jones, and I'm like, why though? Like there's no unless you could go get him for like a cheap veteran deal or something like that, which you're not going to get because you're going to have to go get that Julio Jones contract and you're going to have to give up draft capital to the Falcons to go get him. So it's for what you're going to have to give up to go get him, why would you do that? Because you've already got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and two of those three guys you're trying to develop right now.
Yeah. So
why would you bring Julio into the mix, first of all? I can maybe see bringing Julio into the mix just for the sake of putting a guy there. If it was completely in a vacuum in a void and there was no effects of you got to give up draft picks, you got to
you got too early in that process to get draft picks up. You're right. I didn't think about it. At first
and the egos is the main thing.
You got so young. You haven't done anything. You haven't won yet. And it's kind of like when the Browns, when John Dorsey put that team together, and then he put Freddie Kitchen as coach. He wasn't thinking about the egos. He was thinking about the talent. And Kevin Stefanski had to come in. He had to kind of calm the room down. I think it doesn't make sense for the Bengals because, like you said, do you really want to give up a draft pick? Do you really want to give up a draft pick for Julio Jones? Is that something you want to do? I'm not sure that's something. I'm not sure that's something we want to do. I'm not sure that's something you want to do. I like Joe Burrow. I like Jamar Chase. I like Tyler Boyd. I like T. Higgins. Y'all got a really good room in there. You got Drew Samples. Y'all should be good on weapons. That's too many resources to spend on receiver when you need stuff. We need stuff you need other help on your team. I think it'd be fun. But it wouldn't make sense. Not for the Browns.
It'd be fun for 2 weeks until the egos get involved.
Yeah.
You know, you got
The Eagles get away and then
Boyd
freaking
or Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or probably Julio Jones. Somebody's going to start complaining about the fact that they don't get enough targets because you essentially you bring in Julio Jones in to be your fourth elite pass catching weapon, which would be like, I mean, again, in a vacuum, that's great, but it just doesn't work like that in real life.
You know,
And also,
I
you're
think
screwing up the development of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins by just not giving them as many reps.
Yeah. No, you're right. For the Browns, I don't think it makes sense for the Browns either for real though, because like I just don't. I mean, the Browns. You talking about giving up a first or second round pick from the Browns?
Here's my
second round pick.
process. Give them Odell plus, maybe like a third round pick or something like that. And then
I don't want to trade Odell.
You've opened up the opportunity because I think Jarvis and I think Jarvis and Julio would work great together.
That is too.
And then you've got I haven't seen any evidence that Julio is quite the same level of diva that Odell is. So you've basically got all of Odell's talent without all of the baggage.
That's true. And he stays healthier. But then again, like it doesn't cost anything to have on your team. And I really do think that Odell Beckham has grown up. Because since I think the ACL injury is going to humble him. And I'm really curious to see how Odell Beckham is going to be post. This is why I would make this trade. Because I'm firm. I like the way the Browns are right now. I think that this group right now, I think they got a really good thing going. And I think we kind of mess with that right now. I just think that I just don't want to mess with it right now. I think it's good. I think the project is finished. Now it's trying to see it develop on the field. And I feel like if we got like an Odell, if we got an Odell on his team, I just don't think that it's gonna. I'm sorry. If we got Julio on his team and we trade him out for Odell, I just don't think that it's gonna go well in the locker room because I think that Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Njoku and Higgins, they all got a bond between each other right now. Higgins freaking took less money to come back to Cleveland. Like he did that. He passed up money opportunity to come back for his team so they could be with his brothers for one more year. I think that, you talk about locker room. I think the locker room has grown together. And I think Odell want to be a part of that environment. I really do think that. I think that it's killing him that he wasn't on that playoff team. Like, that gotta hurt you as a competitor. This is the best team that he ever played on his entire career. I think that as a competitor that Odell is, it's gonna bring out his thing. I just think I think Odell gonna have just a crazy season next year. I really do. I think he wants to be here because he's been engaging with the fans. He's been talking about coming back. He's excited about it. I just scoff at the idea of trading Odell because I just think that he's just about to come back just on fire. And if we trade him, he's going to come back even harder.
Maybe, but
he's about to have a great season.
I think Julio Jones is a better player than Odell Beckham Jr.
I do too. But
I really feel like there's something to be said about, like I said, when Odell was in the games, as Baker Mayfield played worse. That's an undeniable fact. Like I broke down the numbers. I watched the film. I came and reported my findings on this podcast. That's an undeniable fact that Baker Mayfield definitely played worse when Odell Beckham was in the game. Mm-hmm. Or especially when he was trying to throw to Odell Beckham.
Yeah, but you also got to realize though that Baker Mayfield had a whole season. Now that he had his whole season and Kevin Stefanski's offense without Odell, and he probably understands it better. Now you probably, I think I really want to see his second swing at it. I think his second swing at it might be better.
Well, I guess we'll have to see exactly what happens, but
yeah.
We all know how you feel about Odell. We all know how I feel about Odell. And I felt that way since he was in New York, by the way. I didn't start feeling that way because he joined the Giants or because he joined the Browns.
I'd rather have Odell, Julio, Jarvis. I'd rather have Odell and Julio than Jarvis and Julio. I'd rather have Odell and Julio than Jarvis and Julio. And I know how much Jarvis means to the locker room. I think Jarvis is gonna be a Brown for life. I think Jarvis Landry's gonna retire Cleveland Brown. There's no way he doesn't.
Like he's already not a Brown for life because he started in Miami.
Yeah, but he like Jarvis is just like he embodied I just think Jarvis is the heart and soul of this team though. Like Jarvis is the dad. You can't trade away the dad. No, Jarvis is the big brother. That's what he is. Jarvis is the big brother of the team. You can't trade away the big brother. You just can't trade away. They're not gonna trade. They're not gonna get rid of Jarvis over Odell. But I mean, look, man. If Atlanta calls Cleveland and go like, "Hey, we want your 2022 second round pick. We'll give you Julio." Fuck it, make the trade. Honestly, just
if Atlanta takes a second round pick for Julio,
no, first round.
Ridiculous.
First round. If they say we want your 2022 first round pick and we'll give you Julio, make the trade. If that's all they ask for, just flat out, that they want, make the trade.
Okay, so what if would you give them Greg Newsome for Julio?
Hell no. So
why would you give him your first round pick from next year?
Because we already got Greg Newsome.
Well, I mean, right, but I mean, like, you're in theory getting another Greg Newsome next year.
The reason why I would trade for Julio this year because I honestly think that this year is going to be the easiest year the Browns have. This is the best opportunity the Browns have to win Super Bowls this year. I telling you this because I'm looking at the talent around the NFL. I'm looking at the talent around the NFL and the teams that are being built. If the Browns do not win a Super Bowl this year, then it's going to be 10 times harder to win it next year. So you got to go all. This year is your time. So if you're just building this team just for this year, just for that one championship, do it. Do it. From somebody who was a Cavs fan who watched the Cavs literally just do that 4 years ago, do it, Browns. Just do it. Just go all in on this year. Go all in because next year you got the Bengals coming, you got the Chargers coming, you got the Dolphins coming. Yeah, you got to do it this year. What if Trevor Lawrence is everything they say he is? What if
Urban Meyer makes more sense than he like naturally should?
What if this kid out of Alabama is everything and more to Bill Belichick? You know, I mean, like
that's a stretch.
I mean, you know, sure. They get Garoppolo back.
Bill Belichick didn't make Drew Bledsoe like an elite quarterback, so I mean, sure. Why on earth would Mac Jones?
Bledsoe wasn't a horrible quarterback. He wasn't a Cleveland Browns quarterback.
Who?
Bledsoe. He wasn't a bad quarterback. I mean, like, you know, the 22 Browns quarterbacks were just bad. He wasn't bad as one of those guys.
Bledsoe did Bledsoe play for the Browns?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
Oh, I was about to say.
And then if you compare him to the 30 quarterbacks the Browns had before Baker Mayfield,
yeah,
probably better than all of them.
Well, you know what? Like, look, I will die on this hill, but y'all wasted Tim Couch.
Okay, yeah, we did.
Yeah, y'all wasted Tim Couch.
Yeah, we
he
definitely
was great, and y'all fucked him up. Okay, so I'm just sitting here trying to tell everybody that Tim Couch was going to be great, and he was playing. He even played decently well for the Browns, and y'all ruined him. And if there's ever one thing in my life that I probably will never forgive the Browns for, and why I'll talk shit about the Browns to the day I die, it's because you all ruined Tim Couch, and that is unforgivable to me.
I mean,
hey, you know who else I will never forgive for treating a quarterback poorly? The Houston Texans, who traded for Ryan Finley. They gave us a 6th-round pick that I think we ended up using on Trey Hill, maybe.
Oh, and then they released him.
Yeah, they cut Ryan Finley.
Oh, I just read that. I didn't know they traded for him though. So you take it
How-
away from the Bengals, and then you
How
release him.
dare you treat a legend that way, Houston Texans?
How
You
dare y'all?
understand that this man is a Hall of Famer.
That's
Ryan
now, bro.
Finley will be in the Hall of Fame one day.
I
Probably the Bengals Hall of Fame, and probably as a joke, but still.
I spiritually connect with Ryan Finley.
Yeah. Everybody
Because
spiritually connects to his face
well,
at the bottom of that pile, just like grinning. Like
you gotta realize, Kyle.
fuck you, Steelers.
Kyle, I was thinking I should have drove to Cincinnati for that game. I was thinking about it. I was like, I should drive to Cincinnati for this game. I wish I did. Because you remember I called the game though. Did I not call? I called it. I was like, Ryan Finley's gonna go ham. I believe in him. Make me look up. If I could quote myself correctly, I said, "Make me look like a G in Cincinnati." And then y'all won.
Well, we'll see about next year. I actually might. Nothing's confirmed right now, but I got some stuff in the works. I might actually be going to all of the Bengals home games next year.
Oh.
So, no.
Oh.
Again, still gotta.
CNI emoji.
What?
CNI emoji. I'm going to the Browns Packers game Christmas Day.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I hope it's cold and snowy too. I would not want that game to. I would hate if it's like 45 and sunny. I'm gonna be pissed off. I want it to be 22 degrees and a hell of a lot of snow. Cold as hell. Because we're gonna be the Browns Packers. I want it to look like the Browns the Packers on Christmas.
So one thing we hinted at the beginning, during the intro, was the Browns offensive guard, right? J.C. Tretter.
Yep.
J.C. Tretter, you said he was the NFLPA president.
Yep. J.C. Tretter is the NFLPA president. He is defending players who want to skip voluntary off-season activities. Now, this is an interesting thing. We talk about in the NFL, a big topic going around in the NFL is player empowerment. Very similar to the NBA, for example. The NBA has a big thing. The NBA players pretty much run the NBA, while in the NFL it's a little more different. The players in the NFL don't have as much power as the NFL players do. At least everybody's safe for the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks got a lot of power. But if you take the quarterbacks out of the equation, the NFL players do not have as much power as NBA players do. So there's always something going on. Well, currently there's a whole idea of voluntary workouts. The argument is that the product on the field last year did not suffer because of the fact that they went completely virtual all off season. So the idea is that players think that it's better for their bodies and better for their health and better for their off season if they do not attend voluntary workouts. Now, coaches are opposed to. A lot of coaches are going to be opposed to this because they want their players to be there. They want their players to be at these workouts. So it's a tough situation going on right now. And J.C. Tretter, the president of NFLPA, who's also the Browns player for the Browns, is encouraging players to not go to the voluntary workout, and it's just giving them a hand, supporting them. So yeah.
Yep. He released a statement through the NFLPA site, I believe, basically claiming that the intensity of OTAs has been ramped up more and more and more, which kind of like violates the spirit of what OTAs are supposed to be about, which is basically like pre-actual work activities that the team kind of does. And basically what he's arguing is that these organized activities have basically been turned into full speed, non-padded practices where players are getting unnecessarily injured. And that's basically, like you said, what he's saying is, there's these guys who are there's these guys going into OTAs and who are basically having their seasons ruined And to an extent, sometimes their whole career is ruined just because of some essentially inconsequential activity.
Yeah.
That the players really aren't even required to go to in the first place. But what he's saying is due to, team pressure and particularly due to media pressure, a lot of players feel like they do have to attend these things. Otherwise they're seen as like a diva or something like that.
Yeah.
I believe the actual quote was, "For a small number of players who choose not to volunteer their time, the media writes articles questioning whether they are a team player or some kind of locker room problem. It's easy to see why many players feel like they have no choice but to attend." And I'm going to agree with JC Treader on this one. The fact of the matter is, like you said, we didn't see just an insane number of an abnormal number of injuries or anything like that, or just like poor play that happened in the 2020 season. I mean, anything that did happen was more of a result of COVID kind of messing with everybody's schedules, and it actually had to do with, not having workouts and stuff like that. Not having off-season activities. And you could maybe make the argument that the fact that there was basically no preseason, kind of hurt the team's chemistries. But at the same time, it wasn't because these guys were skipping OTAs. And a lot of these guys did stuff virtually and kind of, bonded and created chemistry that way. But I fully agree with him. It's like, with how dangerous this game can be, why put yourself under more stress than is necessary? Why put yourself at more risk than is necessary? It's like, if football pays off for you, it could be a very profitable thing. But the fact of the matter is, the majority of people who play in the NFL don't see that kind of payoff.
Yeah.
And they're taking incredible risks in the process. And it's like, the worst paid NFL player, it still probably makes way more money than, I'm going to see in my salary anytime soon. But at the same time, the kind of risks they're taking and the fact that a lot of these guys just don't really have plans for after football and stuff like that. And the fact that, some of these guys' careers last 1, 2, maybe 3 years. Unless we're talking about the stars of the NFL, and then they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars anyway. But these guys at the bottoms of rosters, they have their entire career last maybe 1 or 2 years, and you make a couple $100,000 from it. And then that has to just last forever.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with JC Treader, and in general, I support the players in this endeavor.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Technology had advanced to the point. It's such hardship on your body being an NFL player, and just all year round, it probably gets to them. They got all that money. You don't want to spend all that money. I know we're not supposed to feel bad for these people. Oh yeah, they make millions of dollars. Like, yeah, they do. And, just anytime, let them kind of enjoy themselves. Like, let them enjoy being young. Let them enjoy being rich for a second. They're going to keep their bodies in shape. There are ways to do things virtually. And a virtual option is something a lot of them are for. There are ways to do things virtually where it doesn't apply as much pressure. It doesn't take as much time. It gives them a chance to work out and stay in shape during the off season, because they're all working out during the off season. Trust me. So give them time to kind of stay in shape during the off season, but also give them a chance to keep stay in base, but also doesn't limit them to their own city. They get a chance to travel, they get a chance to enjoy themselves, and it doesn't feel like football is an all year thing. And it kind of gives them a chance to mentally reset. It's important, man. It's important. I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with him. I think that in this age, if we want to have involuntary meetings, we should do it, or voluntary meetings, we should do it virtually.
Right. So, one last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to the other AFC North teams is another sports team that I'm a fan of that I think deserves a little bit of a shout out. Now, Thomas, you said you think you might know who I'm talking about. Who do you think?
Yes. Okay, so the only thing I think of is the Cincinnati soccer team.
No.
Oh, I wasn't right. Oh.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, Thomas, but the FC Cincinnati is awful.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought they
Just
had a good season finally.
Awful.
I thought they're finally having a good season now.
No, they're doing bad.
Okay.
And they haven't really been around long enough for me to just like I mentioned, this team constantly has disappointed me through my whole life.
Yeah, well, I thought FC
they've been
Cincinnati
doing really well lately.
Because FC Cincinnati had that one good season to make it to the MLS, and then ever since then they've been trash.
Well, it wasn't just one good season. They did really well consistently.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 seasons.
They did really well consistently when they were in the lower leagues, but since they've been in MLS, they've just been mismanaged to hell and back.
But even still like that, I'm pretty sure that first time because y'all used to beat y'all beat Columbus like twice or 3 times. They got really good.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, there've been good games here and there, but over the course of the season, they've just been straight trash.
By the way, that's the only soccer game I watch is the Columbus Cincinnati game. I don't know why. It's fascinating. That's another battle of Ohio.
Well, I am
Cincinnati though.
I am talking about a soccer team, by the way.
Okay, cool.
But I'm talking about Manchester City, the Premier League team based out of obviously Manchester, England. For a century, they've been around since 1891, and for like a century they were just like straight booty for years. I mean, they like imagine the Browns between like 1999 I think and like 2019, and just do that like for 100 years in a row. That's Manchester City. I think they won 2 Premier League championships in there, but that was about it. But ever since 2012, they have they've been consistently one of the most dominant teams in the Premier League. They actually just 2 weeks ago they wrapped up. They clinched their 5th Premier League championship in the last 10 years.
Wow. Wow.
And again, I want to emphasize this is their 7th all time since 1891, but 5 of those have come in the last 10 years.
Well, I mean, that's because Manchester United was kicking their ass.
Well, yeah, because Manchester
United. I know a little bit about soccer.
I mean, like the Manchester United was like the Yankees of Premier League for the longest time, and lately Manchester City's kind of taken the mantle, and they've been
take that Yankees.
Part of that's due to change in ownership that they had and everything, but it makes me and I'm bringing this up now because yesterday they just finished up their last game of the season with a 5-0 butt whooping of Everton in front of their only home game that's actually been in front of fans this season. But I bring up Manchester City just to bring up, explain what my thoughts are as a Bengals fan, because that is what I'm hoping happens one day. It's like back in 2012 when Manchester City finally won, finally broke through and they won that Premier League championship and been the first one they'd won since it had been 44 years since the last one. And before that, it was like in the 1930s or something. So it's like they were, like I said, they were ass for years. And they weren't even always in the Premier League. They got relegated quite a few times. But they finally stepped up and in the most heart attacky way possible, finally found a way to get themselves a Premier League championship back in 2012. And ever since then, it's just set off an avalanche of them dominating. But this is part of what it's kind of like part of the struggle of being a Bengals fan. I do have, I'm a Kentucky Wildcats fan, so I do have Kentucky basketball to fall back on. But other than that, every team I root for sucks. Seriously, FC Cincinnati is awful. The Bengals have been mostly awful for their existence. The Reds are really awful right now. I know they have some history to fall back on, but that's about it.
They're not horrible. They're just not good.
Well, they've been really bad the last couple of weeks, from what I understand. Again, I don't follow baseball, but that's
they have been. No, they have been. They have been. They started off good. They just,
but this whole saga with Manchester City is, I think, something that maybe Browns fans can look at and, maybe take some hope from and be like, well, if they can do it, why can't we do it? And that's kind of my thought process as a Bengals fan. But you know what, Thomas? At least y'all have a history to fall back on. At least y'all have the Paul Brown years.
That's true.
Like, our Paul Brown years were just building a franchise, and I think we were the fastest expansion franchise at the time to ever make the playoffs. But other than that, there was just nothing interesting that happened. Ken Anderson won an MVP. Boomer
I made the Super Bowl.
MVP.
I did make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we went to 2 Super Bowls, and we lost both of them.
But y'all made it to one. Cleveland, the only football city in the United States to not be involved in any Super Bowl in any capacity, whether that means hosting one or being in one.
But at least y'all won NFL. Y'all have 8 professional football championships.
That is true, we do.
And I know those all
with the Rams too.
I know those are all ancient history, and I'm never going to let y'all forget that that's ancient history and whatever.
The Rams won one.
At least you have it.
Yeah, the Rams won one in Cleveland too. By the way, it's kind of frustrating. Oh shoot, I just turned my light off. Ooh, you got dark T-Star. Ooh, I like being in dark. Ooh, darkness. No,
well,
by the way,
we're talking about the darkness of being an Ohio football fan. So,
well, you know, it's frustrating. By the way, maybe it's better with light off. You know, what's frustrating about the whole thing is that, all right, so the Ravens used to be the old Browns, moved out of Cleveland, and the Rams, who also used to be the old Browns, move out of Cleveland. Both of them have Super Bowls, and we haven't even been to one. We literally lost 2 teams.
Hell, the Rams have won Super Bowls in 2 different cities.
We have literally lost 2 teams that have won a Super Bowl, and we kept the one that have had 20 quarterbacks in 20 years. More than that.
You want to hear a little interesting fact about Cincinnati football history? The Bengals, by the way, are not the only professional football team Cincinnati's ever had, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Ohio had.
Actually, not even the first NFL team that Cincinnati's had.
Oh, yeah. Shoot. The Browns.
The first team was the first, I believe it was one of the first teams, like one of the very first NFL teams back before it was called the NFL. Was called the Cincinnati Celts. I think they pronounced it with a soft C, like Celts, but I think they pronounced it Celts. So I think it was Cincinnati Celts was our first team, and they weren't anything special. They didn't really last too long. The second team we got in the 1930s was called the Cincinnati Reds, and you know what they're famous for, Thomas?
What is that?
The Cincinnati Reds of the NFL are famous for having the lowest winning percentage of any NFL any NFL franchise in all of history. But we're going back to like I said, the Cincinnati Celts. We're talking about the Dayton Triangles. We're talking about the Columbus Panhandles. We're talking about the Portsmouth Spartans. We're talking about just going back every single NFL team that's ever existed. Nobody had a worse winning percentage through their history than the Cincinnati Reds. That's what we get for our football history. Okay.
I like how you just know all those teams on rip. The Dayton Triangles.
Yeah. I'm kind of a football history nerd. I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? We are doing a podcast of football. You got to know something. The Akron Pros.
The Akron Pros. That was another one.
You know about the Akron Pros. You know about the Akron Pros.
I think I can name all the Cincinnati professional football teams that we had. Actually, there was the Cincinnati Celts. There was the Cincinnati Reds. There was the original Cincinnati Bengals in the 40s. There was I think there was this obscure team called the Cincinnati Models, which was in it was a professional football league. Yeah, not that Model, Thomas.
Shut up.
I don't really know anything about the history of that team, but it was called the Cincinnati Models. And this was in the 50s or so, the 40s or 50s or something like that. It wasn't the NFL. It wasn't even really I think, a competitor to the NFL, but it was technically a professional football team. And then, since the 60s, it's been the Bengals, like the current Bengals, not the old. The old Bengals were completely different Bengals that had nothing to do with anything. And I think actually the current Bengals got their name partially from like the white tiger exhibit we had in the Cincinnati Zoo, but also because Paul Brown wanted to pay homage to like a previous team that existed in Cincinnati. So that original Cincinnati Bengals team, I think, is partially responsible for why this team's called the Cincinnati Bengals. So a little history lesson there for y'all.
That is a good history lesson. There's a lot of old Ohio pro teams, dude.
Oh yeah,
and it's crazy because the history,
what a name.
The history behind it is crazy because the Cleveland Tigers.
Yep.
Man. It's funny. What's crazy about it is just look at the names of the people who just played in these old leagues. Jim Thorpe, man.
The Pottsville Maroons. Yeah, Jim Thorpe. Probably, arguably, I would say Jim Thorpe is probably the greatest NFL player of all time. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback, Barry Sanders the greatest running back, et cetera, et cetera. But the greatest player of all time was probably Jim Thorpe, because not only was Jim Thorpe an amazing, I think he played fullback, but back then fullback was something completely different. It was way more integral. He was basically the quarterback, but he was the fullback. That's kind of how football worked back then. But also he was an Olympic gold medalist and sprinter. And he was also I think the first commissioner of the NFL. He basically was the NFL. Jim Thorpe was. How
about this name? Fitz Pollard. He played for first African American in the NFL. Fitz Pollard, right? Yeah, first African American NFL, and he's the one he was on Akron Pros when they won a championship with Jim Thorpe. That's insane. Was that Jim Thorpe he played with? Yeah, they played with each other. No. He played for. No, yeah, they played with each other. They played on the same team, or did he play for Canton? No, Jim Thorpe played for Canton, but Fitz Pollard played for Akron. That's insane when you think about it.
What on earth? The Tonawanda Cardex. The Tonawanda Cardex Lumbermen. What?
What's the history? Wasn't the Lions started in Ohio, right?
Yeah, they started as the Portsmouth Spartans.
Ah, yeah. See, man, Ohio, man. Ohio's weird.
Ohio was the birthplace of professional football. So
that's what I'm saying.
Originally, actually, the NFL started with the original incarnation of the NFL. I don't even think it was technically directly related, but the original spiritual predecessor to the NFL was a league called, I think, the Ohio League. It was basically just a bunch of professional sports teams that started up in Ohio, and then they started branching out to the Ohio League died when they started branching out to other states and stuff like that. But originally, the NFL was essentially the original NFL was just Ohio teams. By the way, the Oorang Indians from LaRue, Ohio. That was a professional NFL team from LaRue, Ohio. Thomas, do you know where LaRue, Ohio is?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. We're both from Ohio. Neither of us have ever heard of LaRue, Ohio.
But
it's in Marion County, which is I have no idea where that is.
Is it Marion County,
Ohio? Is
that's kind of
central northeastern? Central northwestern Ohio. It's probably closer to Columbus than it is Cleveland. But it's kind of halfway in between, latitudinally, it's kind of halfway in between Cleveland and Akron. Not Akron, Toledo. Toledo's the one that's way far west, right?
Yeah, Toledo's way far west.
So it's kind of halfway in between Cleveland and Toledo, and it's probably closer longitude.
So it's near Cedar Point.
To or do I have those backwards? Whatever. It's in the Columbus area, sort of, but it's area of like Greater Columbus or something like that.
So it's like the area of Columbus going north towards Cleveland, Toledo.
It's got a population
Probably like 15 people.
747 people. That city had an NFL team.
Here go another one. Here go another one for you in Cleveland and Ohio. I mean, how about the Shelby Blues? The Shelby Blues.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that one.
Okay, they played in the Ohio League, like you was talking about the that pro league. And they had the first pro African American player, who was Charles Foles, who also played baseball. The Shelby Blues. Yeah.
Toledo had an NFL team. The Toledo Maroons.
Holy Toledo.
So the Ohio League, by the way, was made up of. If I can, oh shit, I had it.
We're doing some major Ohio football history. That's the great thing about living in Ohio, man. We love our history.
So it was.
We love our football.
The Akron East Ends. The Akron East Ends. That you heard that right. They named their team the East Ends. That's not even. I don't know.
I'm from the east side of Akron.
And there's another Akron team. There were two Akron teams: the Akron East Ends and the Akron Indians. There was the Canton Bulldogs, which ended up being an NFL team. The Cincinnati Celts, which ended up being an NFL team. By the way, I said earlier that they were a founding member of the NFL. I was wrong about that. They actually, like, the NFL was founded in 1920, I believe, and the Cincinnati Celts predated the NFL, but they didn't join the NFL until 1921. So technically they were a year late. The Cleveland Panthers, the Cleveland Tigers, the Coleman Athletic Club. That just sounds like a soccer team name. The Coleman Athletic Club, founded in 1913, folded in 1913. Correct. And that one's in Akron. So it's another Akron team. The Columbus Panhandles, the Dayton Triangles, who, by the way, Thomas, a little bit of history about the Dayton Triangles, are essentially the spiritual predecessors to the Indianapolis Colts. Because that team got basically like ripped apart, like the NFL dissolved the team and stuff like that. But some of the ownership kind of like came together, like back together after the team got like ripped apart, and then they founded the team that eventually became the Baltimore Colts, that eventually became the Indianapolis Colts. So
take that, Baltimore.
Back there. The Detroit Heralds, which is not in Ohio, so that's weird. Apparently, the Detroit Heralds played in the Ohio League. That was probably one of those teams that got them to eventually start branching out outside of Ohio.
Yeah, they're probably thinking like, hey, let's expand this. Let's make this bigger than Ohio.
Elyria Athletics from Elyria, Ohio. That's another one that I don't know. Do you know where Elyria, Ohio is?
Yeah, Elyria, right?
Yeah, I guess. Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's up here.
That's okay, up here. So that's like a Cleveland thing?
Yeah, that's like it's like outskirts of Cleveland.
The Franklin Athletic Club of Cleveland. Once again, that just sounds like a soccer team name.
You know, it's funny. I think I heard
Ironton Tanks.
I think I heard Franklin Athletic Club. Where did you hear that from?
The Massillon Tigers, which, by the way, is where Paul Brown's from, I believe. Massillon.
Yeah, that's one of the most. Look, man, they got a nice little high school football stadium. That football stadium, you know, they hate Canton and Massillon, man. Like they got like a that's one of the greatest high school rivalries in like all of the United States. Like that's not even a joke. Massillon versus Canton, those games are crazy. Man, the history, and like those cities take it so important. Like it's literally, and they have two of the best football stadiums, high school football stadiums in Ohio. But they have two of the best high school stadiums in Ohio for high school teams. Like one is just historic because they still have the stadium that they play all those pro games in. That stadium's still standing. They play high school games in. And then you have the Canton McKinley Stadium. Both of those stadiums are just like within each other, and both of them are just very historic stadiums. And they're rivals. They're rival high schools, and when they play each other, it gets intense every year. So I just love anything that has to do with that Massillon pro football team. It just always just gets me on giddy.
Yeah, definitely. I knew that Massillon's like high school was the Massillon Tigers. I didn't realize they had a pro football team too.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other teams in the Ohio League were the Shelby Blues, which you mentioned earlier, the Shelby Tigers. So Shelby, Ohio, had 2 NFL teams.
Yeah, none of y'all can spot Shelby on the map.
Yeah. There was the Toledo Maroons that I mentioned earlier, and you'll like this one, Thomas. The Youngstown Patricians.
Yeah, go Patricians. Youngstown, the 3-3-0.
Yep, based in Youngstown, Ohio.
I got mixed feelings about Youngstown, but I can't really talk smack about Youngstown or Warren, that whole area, because I'm from there. I was born there, so you don't talk smack about the places you was born at.
Yep.
I like this
looks like the most successful team in the Ohio League was. It looks like the Massillon Tigers dominated early on, and then the Canton Bulldogs ended up dominating later on.
I believe it. Could you just imagine the rivalries back then between Akron, Canton, and Massillon? Man. And that was the only pro football league. So like that, so that's why when we talk about all these great players that we knew from before them playing in Ohio, it makes so much sense. We're so blessed to be in a state that has so much rich history in football. Nobody likes history. Nobody likes football like we do. Nobody likes football like we do in Ohio. Promise you that. I don't care how controversial that statement is. Nobody likes football like we do in Ohio.
So due to numerous transactions over the years, the Dayton Triangles have a tenuous connection to the current NFL. The Dodgers merged with the Boston Yanks franchise. The Dodgers, by the way, the Dayton Triangles moved to Brooklyn, and called themselves the Dodgers. So that's what ended up happening. The Dayton Triangles. That what directly happened is they moved to Brooklyn and became the Dodgers, but they merged with the Boston Yanks in 1945 due to player shortages because of the war. And in 1946, the Brooklyn's owner jumped to the AAFC, and that team played as the New York Yankees, which would have been a competitor to the Cleveland Browns, like the first incarnation of the Browns. The Boston Yanks remained in the NFL, and in 1949 moved to New York and became the New York Bulldogs. Also in 1949, the AAFC Yankees merged with the Brooklyn Dodgers and played as the Brooklyn New York Yankees. When the AAFC merged in the NFL, or when the AAFC merged with the NFL, the Yankees players were divided between the New York Giants and the New York Bulldogs, who were renamed the New York Yanks. And after a failure at the box office, the Yanks were sold back to the NFL in 1952 and awarded to a group from Texas, who moved it to Dallas for the 1952 season as the Dallas Texans. The Texans failed after 1 year and were again sold back to the NFL, who folded the Texans franchise. Its remains were awarded to an ownership group in Baltimore to form the Baltimore Colts. The Colts moved to Indianapolis in 1984 and are still playing as the Indianapolis Colts. The NFL does not consider the Colts to be a continuation of any of the past incarnations, including the Triangles, but you can make that argument.
That is some weird history.
Yeah. It is
wow.
fascinating when you get into it, really.
You talked about the merger, right? They merged, right? Freaking the Eagles and the Steelers merged, right? Then the Eagles and the Steagles, I think their name was.
Yeah, the Eagles and the Steelers, and I believe the Steelers and the Cardinals also did it. They called them Card Pit. By the way, both of those teams, the Steagles and the Card Pit, were both awful, as I recall.
Man, they're awful names too. The Steagles still suck.
The Steagles still suck. Yes, they did. The Steagles went 5-4-1, so that's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah, but y'all still suck. Y'all still suck, Steagles.
In the 1943 season, the Steagles went 5-4-1, which isn't too bad, but they were third in their division and didn't qualify for the playoffs. In 1944, the Chicago Cardinals and Pittsburgh Steelers merged to become Card Pit. And you want to guess what their record was, Thomas?
9-1.
No.
What's the record?
0-10.
You still suck, Carpet.
Card Pit still sucks.
Carpet still sucks. And so do the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steagles did a little bit better than Card Pit, though. I mean, not really good enough to matter, but better than that. 0-10, Jesus Christ. Who do you think's going to be the first ever 0-17 team, Thomas?
You know, those Texans, man. Those Texans, man.
Yeah.
Those Lions, man.
Well,
those Lions.
I don't think the Lions are that bad. You know, I think they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be like don't win this whole game after 17 tries bad.
What is the Steelers goal in 17 this year?
Now that would be funny. That would be hilarious. That's not going to happen. Actually, we need to go ahead and get into the state of the AFC North, but I actually have a point to tie in with that with the Steelers. So we'll go ahead and do the Steelers portion of the AFC North, the state of the AFC North first.
Okay.
In my opinion, the Steelers would benefit from committing to the fact that they're rebuilding.
Yeah,
they seem to be in this state where they're like, oh, we're going to make one last championship run while Ben Roethlisberger's still on the team. And I'm just sitting here like, guys, that's not going to work. You don't have the infrastructure to do this. You don't have the salary cap space. They could make more salary cap space. They're just not doing it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Every year,
I think go ahead and commit to the rebuild. Just admit that things aren't going to be good for a little bit and take the opportunity to build up some good draft picks like a sane NFL team would do. What they're going to end up doing is I would love to see them go 0-17, Thomas. That would be hilarious. But it's probably not going to happen. What's probably going to happen is they're going to be mediocre for a very long time going forward. And that's almost kind of a worse nail in the coffin than being really bad for a little bit. Because the thing is, when you're mediocre, you don't make it to the playoffs and you don't get good draft picks. So it's like you don't get the prestige of making it to the playoffs and then people want to sign with you and try to make a Super Bowl run. But you don't get like if you're going 6-10 every year, then you still don't get great draft picks. You're not picking in the top 5.
Oh yeah. No, they're gonna what's gonna happen is what I think is gonna happen is that every single year that they delay the rebuild, every single year they put themselves 2 years back. So like, you know, you missed this year, which could have been a learning process for your current young players, and you missed this year because you could have used this year to tank and accumulate draft picks. And then you missed the very next year, we could have used those draft picks and young players to grow. So every single year that you do not rebuild, you set your franchise back 2 years. Because the rebuild takes 2 years in itself just to get off the ground.
Right.
Just to get off the ground takes 2 years. So every single year that they do not commit to the rebuild, they set themselves 2 years back.
I could see the Steelers, and I'm not predicting that this is going to happen just yet, but I could see the Steelers going through a similar kind of hell that the Cleveland Browns went through for the last 20 years. I could see the Steelers, maybe not for 20 years, but I could see them going through something similar for maybe the next 4 or 5, you know?
I can see them going on a 5-year slump too. So I mean, unless Mason Rudolph is, let's say, the quarterback of the future on the roster, or what's his name, Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, unless one of them turns out to be, let one of them find something to help them win a game, which are not. Yeah, no, it's over for the Steelers. It's over for the Steelers. I'm sorry.
It's pretty much over for them.
unless Ben Roethlisberger, he finds, the fountain of youth. I don't know. Chase Claypool is the greatest receiver of all time, maybe. I don't think 2 years, but
Yeah.
No, it's
honestly, I think he's kind of overrated personally. I mean, I don't think he's terrible or anything, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, he's like one of the best. He's like the best the best really young wide receiver in the NFL, and I'm like, he's really not. Like, I think before people figured him out, he got a lot of success, but I think he's got a little bit of arrogance to him that isn't really doing him so well, and I don't see him being like, I mean, I can totally see him being like a 12, 13 year like career player for the Steelers or something like that. But I don't see him being like, like one of their all time greats. I really don't.
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be really good.
Who?
Peoples-Jones.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the Browns, yeah.
I think he's going to be really good.
I think he could be.
I think he's fast. I'm sorry.
Speaking of wide receivers, we were talking about Julio Jones at the beginning of the episode. You know where Julio Jones actually makes a lot of sense.
Please do that. Say it.
Well, sorry, Thomas, but it's true.
I know.
It's Baltimore.
I know.
And the reason why is because we've mentioned this before, but the Ravens can't seem to get wide receivers to willingly come to them. So they got to go, they got to go about other means of going and getting an elite wide receiver, which, by the way, would be par for the course for them. Because think about some of the wide receivers they've made work for them in the past. They have a long history of getting free agent wide receivers to come to Baltimore. They've only got a handful of guys they drafted who ended up being great. But some of their best receivers of all time, Anquan Bolden, Steve Smith, Derek Mason, Willie Snead, and then throwing, maybe not as all-time great guys like Jacoby Jones and Lee Evans. And, I mean, that's just what the Ravens do is they go get great receivers that other people, trained.
If the Ravens weren't in the AFC North, I would love to see it. But since the Ravens play in the AFC North, and we got to deal with Lamar Jackson, I do not want to see that. I think that would be insane. That would be a great combination. I think that would help. I think that would help Lamar Jackson's career. I think that might extend Lamar Jackson's career. I think if they don't, in fact, I think if they don't get a guy like Julio Jones, Lamar Jackson's in trouble. But I think somebody like Lamar Jackson, like Julio Jones, could rejuvenate his career. Oh, my God. That would be insane. That would just be insane. But I don't want it to happen.
Well, I definitely don't want that to happen. But that from what I can tell right now, that seems to be where a lot of the talk surrounding the Ravens is right now is just, could they potentially be interested in Julio Jones? I haven't heard any actual rumors that the Ravens have expressed interest in Julio Jones, but that doesn't mean that they're not, thinking about it and seeing what happens.
And they got Julio Jones. They'll be a second-round contender again. Get a second round, get knocked out of playoff by the Chargers again.
Yep.
That'd be funny.
So anyway, guys, I think that's going to pretty much do it for today's episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the podcast, it really helps us out if you share it with your friends, let people know about it. Maybe just some random person that who likes hearing podcasts about rivalries. Or just two guys talking shit to each other, Yeah. I know we don't do that through the whole episode, but we toss them when we can. I'm going to talk shit about the Browns. Thomas doesn't talk as much shit about the Bengals, but he throws.
I'm too nice
from time to time.
I'm too nice.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. We talk about some cool stuff on this podcast, so share with your friends or just like and subscribe, and that would help us out a lot too. You can always find if you want to follow me or Thomas more and watch us talk about pretty much anything else. You can find Thomas at T_star94 on Twitter and Instagram, and he's got a YouTube page called Blowdown Page. You can find more of me pretty much just talking about I pretty much just stick to NFL, so that's all you're going to see from me. Maybe some things about music and stuff, and other sports too. Like I tweeted about Manchester City today, but
Yeah.
like if you're gonna follow me, you're probably gonna follow me for the sports. So, but I mean, you can find me at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/ThePhelps. And, every once in a while I come out with my own separate videos on my YouTube channel, just Kyle Phelps. I don't really have a schedule with that. I don't have any plans for my next video, but I might at some point. So, and plus I got a couple interesting videos up there right now. The one that the mock draft isn't going to be so relevant, but maybe you might be interested in seeing my grades about the Bengals mock drafts. I'll put that in the description down below. So, my grades about the Bengals actual draft, not the mock draft. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening, and I'll leave y'all with a hoo day.
Go Browns.